You're listening to World Oil Deep Dive, conversations with energy industry leaders and engineers about the market trends and technologies shaping the oil and gas industry. Now, here's this week's episode.
All right, hello, and welcome to another episode of the World Oil Deep Dive podcast. And you might have noticed, but we're not in the office today, and that's because Forum Energy Technologies has been nice enough to invite us out to their facility out in Stafford, Texas on Mueller Road. And this is actually the home of their Cannon Protection Guard, Cable Guard. Is that correct, Jason?
Cannon Cable Protectors. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And with that said, I'd like to introduce our folks on the show today. First, I've got Jason Williams, VP of Multi-Lift Solutions here at FET. Jason, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, a real pleasure. And I've also got Brent Stroud. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And Brent, you're the North American Sales Manager here at FET, is that correct?
Yes, sir. North American Sales Manager, everything from top to bottom.
Okay, perfect. And so today's episode is really meant to talk about how we can mitigate production downtime within the upstream oil and gas industry, right? And so before we really dive into that, guys, I think it's best for our audience to understand who we're talking to and what FET is really all about. So if you don't mind, Brent, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in the oil and gas industry and how you came to be here at FET?
No doubt. Would love to. I started in this industry in 2006.
Okay.
Have always been tied to the artificial lift sector. Okay. So started on the ESP industry. Worked there primarily on the Permian, but did some kind of Latin America contracts here and there, but primarily for the activity in the Permian. Worked at numerous of the super major kind of industries or service providers, rather, of the ESP world, and then decided that maybe trying to change it up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And something where I was still able to utilize my knowledge coming from that side of things and kind of bring solutions and kind of ideas to another sector of it. So I started over here at Multi-Lift Solutions back in 2000, what was it, 13? So something like that.
Wow. So you've been here a little while.
So I've been here quite a bit. So and seen this grow to what we are now. So that's where I've been and continue to be so.
Fantastic. And I'm excited to dive into a little bit of the equipment today with you. But before we get into that, I'd also like to hear from you, Jason, on your story. And really, again, where does FET fit into the artificial lift market for our folks at home?
Sure. Again, we appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys. My history, basically, I've like Brent, I have a majority of my experiences is in artificial lift, ESP specifically. About 20 years, and I've been with various ESP companies from GE Oil and Gas, Wood Group to Baker Hughes, covering various territories from sub-Saharan Africa to East Texas. So,
wow, okay.
I've seen a lot of ESP, a lot of the ESP market, and a lot of ESP failures in my time. There was a project that I worked on. We had very good run life, world-class run life. So. I was really fortunate to be brought up in the environment where run life was valued. I found this opportunity with Forum about close to 7 years ago, and really fell in love with the technology, and later the people and the team. Wonderful team, wonderful place, and great technology that's adding a lot of benefit to the artificial lift space. So. But that being said, we can kind of go into the history of multi-lift solutions. And it really starts with where we're at today, which is the Cannon Services product that was acquired by Forum in 2011. And it really kind of served as the foundation of what multi-lift solutions is. So Cannon essentially started in the mid-'80s and initially started as a protector technology that protected control lines, communication lines, tech lines, cable splices, and then migrated into the ESP market where they found a very good good niche, and really represents the first stamped cable protector in the market. So Cannon is synonymous in the artificial lift world with cable protection. It's known around the world. We really got a good firm foundation with that acquisition. The second acquisition was in 2017 with Multi-Lift.
Okay.
Multi-Lift brought a suite of tools that protected ESPs from sand fallback and also offered sand separation.
Okay.
So this was another first-to-market product with the sand fallback tool.
Okay.
Very novel approach. It has never been addressed before. in quite this way. So we as Brent can attest to, we saw a huge adoption of the SandGuard over time, and Brent will go into the details, but we have close to 13,000 installs to date.
Wow.
Since that. So
okay.
That was the second acquisition. The final acquisition was with ESP-CT in 2018, which added additional cable protection in the form of MLE protectors, which protect the motor lead extension on the ESP. The gas guard, which mitigates gas lugs.
Okay.
And a chemical injection centralizer, which protects against corrosion. So really the founding principle of our business is to address the primary failure modes in artificial lift, which represent solids and sands, gas, cable and electrical failure, corrosion, and highly viscous fluids. Those are the top primary failure modes that we are addressing at Multi-Lift Solutions.
So, Jason, I think that's a great segue in terms of what we're going to be talking about today in terms of mitigating production downtime. And so you mentioned quite a few technologies there. Where should we start in terms of taking a deep dive on some of the stuff you guys produce? Let's talk about, really some of the more common failures you guys see that cause that production downtime. Where would you start there?
So from our data, from what we've seen, electrical failures and sand fallback failures, and a lot of these things are overlapping.
Okay.
So sand fallback can create an electrical failure by overloading the system with amperage in a weak system that's already been weakened.
Okay.
So those are the most common. Those are the most common failure modes that we're seeing, and I think Brent could probably speak a little bit more on a basin by basin. But in addition to those types of failures, we're starting to see, and this is with our most recent acquisition with the Magna Guard, is the adoption of permanent magnet motors in the industry. And what we're seeing is, in a kind of a shift, a paradigm shift in our business model in protecting equipment to now protecting personnel.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So permanent magnet motors, they've been around for a while. The adoption's been a little bit slow due to the inherent risks that come with the installation of permanent magnet motors, and the fact that they can generate electricity and send it to surface. So we recently acquired a product that protects and locks that motor and protects the personnel at the surface.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, it sounds like in talking with you guys, it's not really about a reactionary approach to production downtime, but more of a preventative approach, right? Whether that be on equipment, personnel, whatever the case may be, right?
Absolutely. And one of our guiding principles is when we're in front of customers is send us your problems. We want to solve this. We want to be providing solutions.
Okay.
Give us your problems. We need new solutions.
Okay, perfect. So I want to dive into one specific case where a failure might happen, right? And we were just at the Artificial Lift Conference and Exhibition a couple of weeks ago in the Woodlands, Texas, right, Brent?
Correct.
And we got to talk with a lot of folks out there, and I think some of the things that I heard most were ESP failure, right? And debris got into the pump or something like that, and now we have to shut the whole thing down. We have to
100%.
get that ESP out. We got to replace it. Talk to me about, the solution specifically built to really mitigate that type of failure, Brent.
Right, definitely. I mean, when you've always looked at the expense of ESPs, and it's a large expenditure. Always has been, always will be.
Okay.
So to reiterate what we've already been saying about kind of a protection system, an ESP can fail for a myriad of different things. But what we're looking for primarily is to avoid the highest risk factors that lead to the highest amount of failures, which is, like I said, we can start right here, with the Canon cable protector.
Okay.
That was, as Jason alluded to, it's one of our cornerstone products. And you look at a ESP string, from surface down to the actual ESP, you have, multiple failure points all the way through that, especially with how wells are being developed and kind of drilled nowadays, which is neither here nor there, but we're there to protect that, right?
Okay.
So the main thing that we've always tried to consider is obviously you have a tight wellbore, you have a very small annulus, you have very large equipment going downhole. And the largest point of contact primarily is going to be over your collar. That's why we sell Canon cross collar protectors, right? So
Sure.
in this particular instance, right, we have, everything from single channel. This primarily, this one right here is going to be a dual channel with both an ESP and capillary line. But, it's for a full system approach from the wellhead down to TD, wherever we're going to land it.
Okay.
And like I said, that's the facility we're in. It's been the namesake and been the cornerstone of it, but we can protect anything that anybody has and a wellbore from ESP related, like you're stating, capillary lines, fiber optics, and anything and everything in between.
So I was talking to you guys before we came on air, and one of the things that came up was like, okay, it protects cable, but that's evolved since Canon's inception in the 80s, right? So where there might have been a hydraulic line or something that this was protecting. Talk to me through like what all goes into that protection in terms of, what exactly, how many different things are down there that is being protected?
Right. I mean, let's look kind of at it from a basin or an area approach, right?
Okay.
That we've mastered everything you can from a, let's say, Permian Basin or U.S. land area, right?
Okay.
Where it's going to be pretty limited for the most part. So you're going to have your power cables, you're going to have your capillary lines, and then you're going to have, your fiber optics and things like that.
Okay.
But let's, as far as ESP goes, those are the two primary, your capillary lines and your power cable.
Sure.
Right, and then all the way off to offshore applications, which is bread and butter, and we do a lot of that. Where there might be anywhere from 25 different SKUs for different control lines and safety valves, splice protectors, anything and everything in between. Our portfolio here that at this facility is going to protect anything that's down there.
Okay.
And if not, said currently, if challenges kind of come up and there's maybe new technologies like you're saying, we have the personnel here, be it from the manufacturing aspect, which is, the gentleman and the team behind me, all the way to our engineering team that
Sure.
can sit there and go through line item by line item, a complete wellbore and make sure that you have a piece that's going to get you to bottom without any failures.
And I think that's the key takeaway from all of this, right, is we're trying to mitigate failures, save folks money. And, this might sound like a silly question. I always hear there's no dumb questions, but coming from a marketing guy, is FET's approach focused on working with operators to reduce cost, or are you working with the ESP providers and the service companies? I mean,
right.
Walk me through that.
I can walk you through that. There is challenges for both of them, right? What we've tried to do across the board and what we strive to do is be the easiest to do work with.
Okay.
Right. So be it an operator that likes the direct communication,
Sure.
With, invoicing and everything in between, all the way to maybe a service company that's out there that has localized special attention in a basin or a specific area. We will work with them and provide solutions no different than if we were to do kind of direct to operator.
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. So whether it's an operator or a service company, FET's really built to work with both,
We're
right?
here to serve the market in the artificial lift space.
Perfect.
And as Brent kind of covered a little bit, we work with multiple service companies. We have a very agnostic approach on who we work with. We are there to protect the artificial lift system and to serve our clients and provide valuable run life improvement.
So that's really interesting, and we got a chance to really now talk about the Canon Cable Guard, which is the tried and true product out of this facility, but I can't help but notice, Jason, that we've got a nice shiny box here with some cool toys inside. So walk me through what I'm looking at here and what solution this provides in the artificial lift market.
Absolutely. So this product is called our Cyclone, and this is part of what we call a sand management system.
Okay.
A sand management system is basically two of our products. One of our products being the Sand Guard, which prevents sand fallback. This one is a sand separator, which prevents sand from entering into the artificial lift equipment or ESP or rod lift in the first place. So the philosophy behind this is there are, when it comes to sand and abrasives, there are two modes of failure that exist. With sand fallback, it's what we call an acute failure, which is immediate and catastrophic.
Right.
Shaft breaking, electrical failure. So we address that with the Sand Guard and the fallback. The other mode of failure is more of a chronic, long-term, whereas abrasives and sand enter the pump, they wear it out, they basically sandblast the internals of the ESP, and it will fail over a period of time. So we take a holistic approach to managing sand in addressing the ingress of sand in the first place, and then sand fallback on the back end. So
Okay, now shameless plug here, because SandGuard, it really rings a bell for me. Did this win a World Oil Award a couple of years ago?
It did, 2018.
Okay.
Followed by the Gas Guard in 2019 as a runner-up.
Okay, and very interesting. And so the idea here is we're protecting not only things that fall into the pump, but also making sure that we have a fluid and solid separator as a two-in-one kind of system to protect your ESP.
And that's a good point. The way that this works is through centrifugal force, separating sand from fluid. It's basic physics, but it's very effective. We've optimized the design and created a lot of features in here, learning over time how to make a better tool. So, at this point, I think we have the best tool in the market.
So I heard a number get thrown out when I was looking at this SandGuard technology, and it was that it can increase your ESP lifetime or life cycle by 1,200%. Surely that's a typo, right?
Nope, that is correct. Man, we've done.
Wow.
We did a case study, and I think there was about 40, 50 wells in the initial.
Yes,
Okay.
the initial case study, 40, 50 wells. And even though that was at the original start of kind of this unconventional play, right? Large fracs, sand fallback, things that they just weren't come across yet. With the adaptation of the SandGuard, once they saw that, the amount of failures that they saw that were instantaneous. I mean, you got to think ESPs can shut down for any kind of reason all the time, right? Generators running out of diesel, power blitz, anything downhole can cause it. And each time one of those happened, you had an instance where a pump could have the potential for not restarting previous to the SandGuard.
Right.
So, like I said, for that, I mean, we still coming across those. That initial, story that we just went over was now years ago, but we still have operators currently right now that are, a pump running for 4 or 5 hours, and they've got to retap some pull mount transformers or something like that, and it goes down and they can't kick it back on.
Oh my God.
So, and it's still to this day, we're not using a lack of sand or it's not going away anytime soon.
So it's not going away anytime soon, but has anybody else done anything like this to protect an ESP? Was this like a first-to-market solution, or
the sand fallback protector, the SandGuard, was absolutely first to market.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, congratulations to you guys. Nice to get out in front of that.
I think we have 12 to 13,000 installations today. It's hard to keep up.
It's right. I mean, our successes have been large, right? So it's been 13,000 plus, and it continues all day, every day at this point, because it's, even though people have tried to avoid an ESP here and there, let's just be honest, it's tried and true. The volumes are there to get your returns on an ESP, and then that's where we come into play. Yeah.
Very interesting, guys. So we've talked a little bit about how an ESP can have a variety of different failures and how you guys are protecting it for preventative measures to stop that production downtime. I want to talk a little bit about gas locking and gas slugs. Again, when we were back at the Artificial Lift Conference, I heard someone spit out that they've seen gas slugs as long as 43 minutes, which is insane to think about, right? So what technologies are you guys bringing to the table on that front?
We can go across right here. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we go.
And what are we looking at here, Brent?
So what we're looking at here is going to be a new product for us that we came out with that I know we've traditionally talked about ESPs, right?
Right.
That's not to say that we are an ESP company by any shape or form. We now provide solutions across the board for all artificial lift types. And this beauty right here that we have is our Pump Saver Plus. It's really found a niche in the area of both rod pumps and kind of PCPs.
Okay.
But it's what we kind of coin. It's a dual channel or dual type tool, right?
Sure.
We're going to handle the solids from the system and get them out. Just growing off of what we've learned from our core product and have adapted it, right? So had 10,000 plus installations from our sand technology. We know that, right? So we adapted it into this tool right here, the Pump Saver Plus, and then with the adaptation of some kind of vertical intakes in there, it is a gas separation chamber and a desander all in one for rod pumps and PCPs.
Yeah, very interesting. And so, when I look at this, I think, okay, there's obviously different wellbores have different specifications, different things that operators want, different things that service companies can provide, right? How does FET manage, being able to, I guess the word would be retrofit. I mean, is that all part of this process with all of these technologies? Or, can you walk me through that a little bit?
Right, and Jason, feel free if you want to jump in, but what we've kind of prided ourselves on is being agnostic, regardless of who the company is, pump provider, connection type, metallurgies. We got all that covered.
Okay.
I mean, we can provide metallurgies for anything that's out there, and if there's something that comes across, we work hand in hand with an operator or a customer and provide them a solution on the metallurgy side of it.
Okay.
But we try to be as seamless as possible in these streams, right? So we make sure and have connections that can make up to anybody's equipment, regardless of brand, type, color, shape. It doesn't matter, right?
Okay.
So what we do is we stay, we use that same ideology across the board for our entire product line, just to make sure that when an opportunity does arise, that there's not a hang-up somewhere by being, I can only flange up to X, Y, and Z or something like that, right?
Okay, absolutely.
And to add on to what Brent said there, we have a fully staffed applications engineering group here with well-seasoned people that have been in the industry. We know what's out there, and Brent and his team have done a fantastic job understanding the market that they work in. So it's helped us a lot for planning, inventory, and also just understanding what the latest trends in metallurgies are, what the pump companies or the rod lift companies are using. So, I mean, the level of customization we have here is fantastic. We can essentially customize the equipment to fit whatever string it's going into.
Fantastic, guys. Well, I think in terms of mitigating production downtime, I don't think there's any doubt that Form Energy Technologies has a bevy of different product suites in order to help facilitate those solutions. Is there anything that you guys would like to add on to what we've talked about today in terms of some of the issues folks are seeing out in the field and how you guys are addressing them?
I think other than the Magna Guard, which we mentioned before,
right?
The trend and the adoption of permanent magnet motors in the industry, it's been around a while, but the risks associated have kind of prevented a full adoption. There are a lot of benefits to permanent magnet motors, including OPEX reduction and electricity consumption reduction. It's the cooler running, they're shorter. There's a lot of benefits, but it does present a real and present danger with the electrical surge to surface. So with our new product, the Magna Guard, we're poised to address that problem as well.
So these PMMs, they attach onto the ESP, and that's what's actually powering our electrical submersible pump. Is that right?
Correct. So the conventional motor, which we call an induction motor,
okay,
2-pole motor, it doesn't produce any significant voltage or amperage to surface.
Sure. Okay,
it's 2-pole. And as there's no magnets in it, a permanent magnet motor is essentially a generator if it's spinning while it's
right.
I got you. Inactive. So
that electricity can actually surge back up to surface.
Correct.
And my guy Joe working on the wellhead out there, he's in danger.
Very much.
Oh wow. Okay. So and you're saying that's really why folks have, for lack of a better way of putting it, have steered away from PMMs in the past?
Yeah, I think
on top of maybe some other things.
I would say primarily that's one of the big factors. Yeah.
Interesting. So it's not just about protecting the equipment downhole, but now we're talking about protecting personnel on the top side, which, I mean, that's as important as it gets, right?
Right. I agree. With the adaptation of the Magna Guard, right? We always, if anybody's ever been in a meeting with us, one of the last parting words we ever have with anybody is there anything else that you need a solution for? That just something's either out there and not cutting it, or just nobody's addressed that yet.
Okay.
So we're steadily, we have a top-notch engineering team, top-notch manufacturing, operations, sales, across the board. So, we have several things kind of in the black box, kind of being worked on at all times.
Awesome.
Right now is just, making sure that we're not just, sitting on our haunches here and trying to come up to, once again, like I said, preventative, and we're having to have the foresight to work with these people and provide them solutions for something that maybe they're not even aware might be a problem yet, but, that's what we're going to be working towards at least.
So I think this is a good opportunity to reach out to the listeners listening to the podcast, especially the operators. So if there are any issues that are being addressed or any novel solutions that you're looking for, you're always open for discussion. We're excited to address those the best we can. So
And I've got one more shameless plug on that note, Jason. I think you guys are going to be talking a little bit more about Magna Guard through a World Oil webinar in January, actually. So super excited to have the opportunity to have you guys on again soon. But let me first say thank you for having us out to the shop today. This is a really cool learning experience, and we appreciate the time and the expertise you guys were able to provide on this topic for us.
Absolutely. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to our show. Please check out the show notes for the links we discussed in the podcast. We value your opinions, so if you have any questions or comments, kindly email them to us at deepdive@worldoil.com. Additionally, we'd appreciate it if you could rate us on your preferred podcast listening app. Lastly, don't forget to visit worldoil.com for the latest technical articles and news about the oil and gas industry.